All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Our webinar today is building a website for your nutrition, fitness, or health coaching business with Jessica Freeman. Jessica, it's such a pleasure to have you
Yes, thank
here
you so much for
today.
having me. I am very excited.
Awesome. We are too. It's really exciting to see people joining the webinar and filling out our room. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat while we give everyone a minute or so to join us today. I'll go ahead and I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Melissa, and I am AFPA's Content Marketing Manager. We also have our moderator and marketing coordinator, Max, in the chat. So he'll be helping y'all if you're having any issues, as well as flagging questions that you might drop in there as well for Jess to answer at the end of her presentation. And like I said, we have Jessica here. Jessica Freeman is an Atlanta-based award-winning web designer, and she's been in business for 10 years, helping nutrition and fitness business owners build authority and get more clients through their websites and their online presence. So before we jump into Jess's presentation today, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping items. So first off, a video replay will be available after this webinar. It will be emailed to the address you signed up for this webinar with, and a transcription will be available shortly thereafter as well. If you experience any connection issues, first try refreshing the page. If that doesn't work, try logging out of the webinar and then back in. And then lastly, try using another web browser. Usually one of those three things will work. And then, like I said earlier, if you have any questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat as they pop into your head. And we'll allot about 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for a Q&A. So we'll try to answer as many as we can as time permits. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Jess, I'm gonna let you take it
Awesome.
away.
And I have the chat open, so I may not look at it the whole time, but if I see any questions as I'm talking, I will try to slip in my answer, but no promises. So yeah, we're going to talk about websites today. We're going to cover a lot of things. So I'm going to dive right in. Like she said, my name's Jess. My business is Just Creatives. You can find me on social media at Just Creatives on pretty much every platform. Like she said, I've been in business for 10 years. I'm also a podcaster and YouTuber. So if I'm not designing websites, I'm probably creating videos or content for social media or something. So that's a big part of my business. But I know y'all don't care that much about me. You want to learn about websites. So today we're going to talk about where to start with your website if you don't have one, finding a designer if you want to go that route and you don't want to DIY. We're going to talk about SEO and website content, what to put on your website, because I know that's a big part of what holds people back and that feels overwhelming. And then we'll also talk a little bit about accessibility. There's a lot that goes into accessibility, and I definitely keep that in consideration, but I would not call myself an expert in terms of all things accessibility. So I have a few starting points for you. So where I want you to start with your website, even if you have one right now, I want you to think about what is the goal for your website? Like, why are you putting one up? And I know you might be thinking, well, for my business, duh. But we want to think about, like, what is the purpose? Why am I sending people to that website? What am I putting on that website? What do I want people to do on that website? So before you even dive into like the tech of the website, the content on your website, finding a designer, you want to think about what you're doing, what the purpose of that website is. For most of you, that's probably going to be getting clients, that people will Google personal trainer in LA, and then your name will show up in those Google search results. Or if someone finds you on Instagram and then they click the link in your bio, they're going to look at your services and all that, and then fill out a contact form, book a discovery call, whatever that is, and talk about working with you. It might also be some passive income if you are someone, maybe you don't work one-on-one, maybe you sell programs, or you have an app, you have guides, you have meal plans, something like that. And there's also, if you, maybe it's brand partnerships. If you want to, work with brands and do sponsored content on social media and your website, like having that information on your website is also important. Like, you would not believe how many brands go to websites looking for that information. They're like, do you do brand partnerships? Like, is this something you do? So if you have that information already available, brands are more likely to reach out because they know, oh, they have experience with this. So then once you decide what the purpose of your website is, and you can have multiple things, you can have clients and brand partnerships, or clients and passive income, but we want one to be the main goal. The first step is choosing what platform you want your website to be on. So the 3 that I really recommend are WordPress.org, which is different from WordPress.com. WordPress.com is a lot more limiting, and is really meant for more like hobby bloggers. It's not really a great place for a business website. So WordPress.org is what I recommend. Then Squarespace is another good option, and Showit is another option that I recommend. But most people are doing Squarespace or WordPress. Squarespace is good for non-techie people. It's much more intuitive. It is a little limiting though. It has some limitations in terms of functionality and in terms of the design, like how custom you can get. WordPress.org has limitless possibilities. Like, you can do pretty much anything on WordPress. A lot of people are like, oh, I hate WordPress, it's so confusing. A lot of that really actually comes down to your theme that you choose, not necessarily WordPress itself. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have done WordPress before and you're like, I hated it, it was super confusing, it might have actually been the theme. Now, I know people are often like, what about Wix? I do not ever recommend Wix for business owners. One of the main reasons is because you cannot export your content. And I think as business owners, we need to have full ownership over our content. So if you are someone who blogs or does YouTube or podcast, and you want to embed those things, when you want to leave Wix, there's no export button. On WordPress and Squarespace, there is a download file. Now, you don't get like a download of like Google Docs or Word Docs with your blog post, but you get a file that you can download from Squarespace and upload in WordPress, or vice versa. They are easy to move between. Shopify is another very popular option. It's really geared towards product-based businesses though. If you are not selling physical products, it's really for physical products, not even digital. It's really not geared for you. There's nothing bad about Shopify. I just personally don't use it a whole lot with my clients because it just doesn't really serve my clients and what they need, because they're not selling products. Weebly is similar to Wix. I'm not a fan of it. Thinkific is really meant for courses. Yes, you can set up pages. It's not very user-friendly. It's really limiting. I know some people want to just use an all-in-one system, but anything like Thinkific, Teachable, Kajabi, I'm not a fan of for your actual website. Fun fact, this is getting like super nitty-gritty, but you can go like on Thinkific and probably Teachable, but I know Thinkific because I use it myself for my courses. I can have my sales page on my website, And the link, when I say like, oh, buy now, join now, I can send people directly to the checkout page on Thinkific. Again, you might be able to do that on Teachable, or I know you can also do it on Kajabi. So they don't have to go to like the Thinkific sales page and then check out. So something to think about. And then lastly, Showit. I was naming off some other platforms I was seeing in the comments, but Showit is the other one that I was listing here on screen. Showit is very, very customizable in terms of design. It can be a little overwhelming. I would say Showit is not for those who are not super techy, or who don't want to like get into the nitty gritty of design. So that's something to consider. It can be a little overwhelming for people. So WordPress.org, Squarespace, or Showit. Now, one last thing I want to mention with WordPress before I move on. Like I said earlier, WordPress.com is separate. With WordPress.org, you first have to find a host like SiteGround, Flywheel, GoDaddy, which I don't like them as a host, but something like that. And then you pay for your host. Basically, that's where your site lives. And then WordPress is through the host. So just if you're like, I'm confused when I'm looking up WordPress.org and I can't find like how to set up an account, it's because you go through the host. Now, let's talk about DIY versus designers, because obviously, yes, I'm a designer and I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is the only option, the best option, because I completely respect that we all have different budgets. We're at different places in our business. So not everyone needs to or can hire a designer, and I recognize that. So I'm not here to say like, you cannot DIY. So the DIY route is a lower investment, obviously, but usually takes more time unless you are super techy. You are one that learns quickly. Maybe you've even set up a website before or done something similar, then it's going to take less time. If you want, there's also templates. Like, I mean, Squarespace, if you DIY, it already comes with a template, but there are like kind of done for you templates that almost come with not just like dummy pages, but like designers like me will sell templates that also come with like, hey, this is what you should do on this particular page. This is the content you should include on this page. So it's a little more filled out for you, if that makes sense. And then there are also options like done with you. There are designers who maybe coach you through a website. I know there are some designers who they sell templates. They will actually install it for you, do a little bit of customization, maybe like changing colors or something of that nature, and then let you kind of finish plugging in content and swapping pictures. So it's kind of like all the techie setup stuff is done, but then you go in and tweak the actual content. So that's a little bit, you know, of a halfway point. And then of course there is the done for you, which is what I do, which is more of an investment, but takes everything off your plate. So you don't have to mess with all the tech. You just have to usually write copy, maybe gather some pictures of yourself. And so you don't have to worry about all the mess. So there's some options in between. So I wanted to kind of show you that, where there's, depending on your budget, how much time you have, whatever your situation is, you can figure out, okay, what do I want to do here? So that's something for you to consider. Now, finding a designer can also be a little overwhelming, partially because there are like millions of us, literally like millions of designers. So where do you find one? Facebook groups or colleagues is a really great place to start. So if you have a Facebook group of other personal trainers, health coaches, whatever that you are in, and it's just kind of a community of people asking all sorts of questions, that is a really great place to start and say, hey, does anyone have a designer that they worked with, a web designer that they worked with that they recommend? You will get several options usually. Or if you just have some good business friends, you can ask them, hey, did you get your website designed? Did you do it yourself? And that's also, even if they didn't find a designer, if they did it themselves, obviously they would tell you, but they might also say, hey, I got a template from so-and-so and they installed it, or it was one of the like click one setup and just plug in content, so that's another way to find how people are doing their websites. Other options, Instagram hashtags, hashtag WordPress designer, hashtag Squarespace designer. On Pinterest, if you type in website inspiration, you will see so many screenshots of websites. And you can even be more specific if you want to look at like feminine websites, personal trainer websites, dark websites, elegant websites, any kind of adjective, then that's also going to pull up those screenshots. If you click on it, it's likely going to take you to that web designer's portfolio page, to that web designer's website. So like if I do Ashley's website, I take a screenshot after the website's done, put it on my website, or just upload to Pinterest, link it back to my website. People can find me that way. I do recommend avoiding sites like Fiverr or 99 Designs. Fiverr is not great for websites. There are often like not great communication, projects don't get done. I've seen lots of stories of people getting a logo from Fiverr and then finding out it was a complete copycat of this other logo. Same with 99 Designs, it can be really tricky. So I recommend, as a business owner, working with someone closely one-to-one that does strategy, that does SEO, that does mobile websites. Also on Fiverr and 99 Designs, you're likely working with people who are newer to design because they can't find work or they're wanting to build their portfolio. So they are going to 99 Designs. And then I wanted to point you to this resource, jesscreatives.com/questions. This is a really great blog post I wrote, in my opinion, a great blog post about questions to ask designers, things to look out for when you're working with a designer or like trying to find a designer. It goes really in depth about what to look for in a designer and all that kind of stuff, like way more than I just covered in the last few minutes. And so that should be a great resource for you as you're looking for designers. So other things to remember when working with web designers: a good website, and I would add a good client experience for you. It's going to cost you about $2,000 to $3,000 minimum. That's on the low end. So keep that in mind. You would be amazed at how many comments, messages, emails I get from people who have gotten scammed, who their website designer vanished on them 6 months later. Their neighbor's son said they would do it, and here they are a year later with no website. Like, you get what you pay for. And so I would say good websites are going to be at least $2,000 to $3,000. Keep in mind, and this goes back into that blog post I just mentioned, not all designers do SEO. So if you are concerned about SEO, you want to show up in search when people search your city and what it is you do, that is going to be of importance to you. Also, you'll want to make sure that it's going to be a mobile-friendly website, because in 2022, it is unacceptable to not have a website that's not mobile-friendly. So nowadays, most websites are kind of automatically mobile-friendly. Like Squarespace is automatically, there's no like special something you have to do. Most WordPress themes are automatically mobile-friendly, but it's just something to consider. And always, always, always have a contract with the web designer. Always. Even if it's your neighbor's son, whoever you're working with, make sure they have a contract. Make sure you read the contract You want to make sure that there is an end date, like, oh, your website will be live by July 1st. What happens if it's not live by July 1st? And all those kinds of things. Like, you want to make sure that it's not just protecting them, but it's protecting you and your time and money as well. So that's something else to consider with hiring a web designer. So now let's move into, what do you even put on your website? Because like, we just can't have pictures of ourselves. So I want you to remember that your website is for other people. And so that website should actually be more about them and not about you. I know when I work with clients, they're like, oh, I hate talking about myself. Like, this is not what I like. I don't want this website to be all about me. I don't want huge pictures of me everywhere. It's not about you. I'm not saying you can't have pictures of you. That's not a bad thing. But you want your website to talk about their pain points. They're struggling to lose weight. They want to train for a marathon. They want to, whatever it is that they are working on, whatever it is that you help them on with, you need to know your audience really well and know those pain points specifically. Like, I know that my clients get overwhelmed and frustrated with their website. I know that they don't know what to put on their website. I know that they are trying to build authority, that they want to show up in search because they're tired of the Instagram algorithm. And so they want to focus more of their energy on SEO and having clients find them instead of always having to chase clients. So talking about those pain points on your website is going to help people stay on your website longer, and it's going to help people convert more instead of just clicking on your website and be like, oh, that's cool. Latasha's a personal trainer. And then leave. They are going to be like, oh my gosh, she totally gets me. Yeah, yes, these are all the exact struggles that I've been having. This has been a huge frustration of mine for 6 months, and I'm really ready to like take a step forward and do something with my health. This is going to help. So talk about them and their pain points. Obviously, like your about page, and there are certain places where you will talk about yourself, but the majority of your website should be about them. So if you do not have a website, these are the 4 pages I want you to start with. If you have a current website, these are the 4 pages I want you to take a closer look at, because these are the 4 pages that usually get the most traffic, and people are going to look at and hopefully convert. So your homepage, this is just a quick snapshot of your website and who you serve. This is the beginning of the roadmap. They're coming to the front door of your house. So we don't need to overwhelm them. The biggest mistake people make on their homepage is putting way too much information. Like, I was looking at a website the other day of a dietitian, and she had like a picture of herself and like a paragraph about her. And then she had 4 like images, buttons of like, oh, about page, blog, recipes, blah, blah, blah. Then she's a cookbook. So she had a big image of her cookbook with buttons. And then she had a section with like 6 blog posts, and then a section of 6 recipes. And then there was a subscribe to my newsletter. And then there were linked like, I think it was like a Facebook feed or a Pinterest feed or something like that, sending people in way too many directions. So we just want to give people a snapshot of your business and say, hey, I help women lose weight and build muscle. I help women do XYZ. I help men do XYZ. I help athletes. Whatever it is that you do, put that at the top of your homepage, and then choose 2 to 3 of your offers, whether that's books, one-to-one services, programs, your app, like whatever it is. And then and you can have some other text, but just as a general kind of skeleton, having that headline, 2 to 3 things that you really want to point people to. That's what your homepage should be. That's what you want to focus on. Your homepage is not this catch-all of like, I don't know where I wanted to send people, or like, I don't know where I wanted to put this Pinterest feed and my Instagram feed and both of my ebooks and my cookbook and my meal plan. So I'm just gonna put it all on the homepage because I don't know where else to put it. That's not what we want to do. Your about page is actually more about your business, your approach, your methodology, your why, not your life story. We don't need to know that, like, when I was 8 years old, I ran a 5K in my hometown. And ever since then, I've been like, we don't need to know the last 18 years of your life. You can give bits and pieces to like how you got into this. That's fine. But we care more about like what makes you different than the other personal trainers and health coaches. Like, what makes you different? How do you approach what you do? Like, yes, me and all the other web designers in the world are pretty similar, but my approach that's different, I'm a lot heavier on the strategy and the SEO, not, oh, I just make like your website pretty. So that is the big focus on my website, and especially on my about page. So that's something to keep in mind. You do still want to show a little bit of who you are, because especially in the health and wellness industries, it's a very vulnerable thing to say, I want to work on my health, I want to lose weight, I want to set this big goal for my health, and I'm going to hire someone to talk, to help coach me and talk me through all of this. Like, they're sharing a lot of details of their personal life. They need to trust you. They need to be able to trust you. So they're going to go look at that about page and be like, okay, does Beth look like someone I can trust? Does Beth look like someone that I can see myself having these conversations with and being like, yeah, I didn't do my workouts this week, or I didn't do my whatever this week. They need to be able to say that they can trust you. So connect with them on your about page and really your whole website. And then your services page or pages, if you have multiple of them, again, talking about those pain points. What are they struggling with? What are they feeling right now? What do they need help with? Before and after, this does not just have to be before and after pictures. That's not what I'm saying, but before and after in terms of, before is, I was struggling to eat enough calories and I was struggling to develop good habits. After is, I have a plan, I have a sustainable approach to my health. This is, like, so talking about like, you are struggling to figure out how to eat healthy. I can help you with creating a plan and creating a sustainable approach. It can be words, not just pictures. So don't feel like I'm saying you need to have before and after of all your clients, like side by side. And talk about the benefits, like the long-term benefits of working with you. That's also something that's going to help you convert on those sales pages. And then your contact page, contact pages in themselves are pretty basic. It's usually just like, contact me, I'd love to talk with you about blah, 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 blah. But your contact form, this is one of my favorite pieces of the entire website, which is super weird to say, but this contact form can make such a difference in your business, because it's going to save you, if done right, can save you a ton of time. Because I'm assuming most of you, if you have a website, have a very probably basic contact form, name, email, phone number maybe, and like message, or like, what can I help you with? And that's probably it. But if you were to ask more questions up front, not like 20 questions, we don't need to ask a ton of questions, but if you were to ask more questions up front, you could get a better sense of, is this client actually a good fit for me? So ask them, like, think about what helps qualify or disqualify someone for being a good fit for working with you. Like, maybe you can't work with someone if they have a chronic medical condition. Maybe you don't work with men. Maybe you only work with women. Maybe you need to know like what experience they have at the gym or working out. Like maybe you only work with elite athletes, and Joe Schmo off the street comes to your website and it's like, oh yeah, I want to start working out. And you're like, sorry, like I only work with people who've been doing this for like 10, 20 years. So like, we need to help get that information. So think about what questions are going to help disqualify or qualify people and being a good fit. And you might still need to do a call with them, but think about like if you get contact form submissions now and it's like, hey, I'm Jess and I want to start working out. And you're like, okay, great. Like I don't know anything about like how old are you, or what like what other questions do you need that would help that email be more informative, rather than like, oh, hey, I'm Jess and I'm 32 and I work out 4 days a week and I need blank, blah, 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 blah. Then you can respond, hey, Jess, like I see you already work out. I think you would be a good fit for XYZ program, but I want to hop on a call so that we can see if it really is a good fit for you. So it just helps save you a ton of time with back and forth emails. If you already have a website and you already have those pages, you feel like they're good, some other pages that you can add on your website, a resources page. This can be a good place for affiliate links if you do affiliate stuff. Common products that you recommend, even if you're not an affiliate, but you find yourself always recommending like different things for at-home workouts or like blenders. I've seen some weird things that people put like on their resources page, kitchen utensils and appliances and that kind of thing, books, podcast, anything like that. That can be a good thing for your resources page. It doesn't just have to be affiliates. FAQ. FAQ can be just like on a sales page, but if you have a super long FAQ, it can have its own page. Testimonials. I like to sprinkle testimonials around your website, some on the homepage, definitely some on the services page. But if you have more than like 10 to 15, like I've been in business for 10 years, I have a ton of testimonials. So if I try to include all of them on the services page, that's going to clutter up my services page like nobody's business. So I have a few on my services page, but then I have a dedicated testimonials page where I put lots of other testimonials and I include videos. A few times I've been able to get clients to send me video testimonials. So you can have a dedicated testimonials page if you're at that point in business. And then of course a blog, which is great for SEO. If we wanted to dive super deep into SEO, we will talk some about it, but if we wanted to get super deep, blogging is the best thing for SEO because you're giving Google more data. So SEO is search engine optimization. We'll talk about it more in a second, but basically SEO is how you get your site to show up in Google. If people search personal trainer in blank city, or like, even if it's not a city, but like personal trainer for women over 40 or something like that. That's how you show up in Google search, which of course we're talking about. I thought we were going to dive into SEO next, but so Google can't just like see your site and be like, okay, this site needs to show up for these keywords in this location or whatever. You have to tell Google, and you really have to optimize it to show up for those keywords. Like you really have to put in some effort. Just having a website is not going to make you show up in Google. You have to optimize it. Just doing like random exercises isn't going to really get you much result in terms of like losing weight or getting healthy or whatever. You have to optimize your workouts to get results. You have to optimize your website. So you need to use those keywords. So think about what is your niche and what do you want to show up for. So like personal trainer, dietitian, health coach, whatever it is. For some of you, most of you, it might be location specific if you work in person. If you work virtually with anyone anywhere, then it can be a little more niche in terms of like personal trainer for elite athletes, dietitian for women with PCOS, health coach for kids. Like whatever your niche is, that's the keywords you want to use on your website. Sorry, I meant to advance that slide, but you want to make sure you are using the keywords that people are searching for, though. There are tools that you can use to do that keyword research. You can get all the data to see what people are searching, and it is fascinating, at least to me, maybe not to everyone, but how just slightly different searches can show different results. So Pilates instructor may be totally different, and like maybe there's tons of searches for that, and then Pilates classes maybe have like 0 searches, or vice versa. Like it is so weird how different searches can yield different results. So that's why you need to do the research. So for instance, this is one of the searches I did just as an example. So I typed in like personal trainer Orlando. You can see right here, the KD is difficulty. So like how difficult is it to rank for this keyword? And it's on a scale of 0 to 100. So 14 is pretty low and it's green. Volume, that is searches per month. So like personal trainer Orlando, pretty reasonable. Like it's not the highest thing ever, but it's way better than Orlando fitness trainer, which is only 30 searches a month. And then you can also see, I think maybe I typed in Orlando fitness trainer and then it gave me, I typed in strength and conditioning coach. And I'll talk about where I found this in just a second, but like I've had clients who are like, I'm not just a personal trainer, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. And I'm like, people are probably not searching that. We search very basic terms usually on Google. So you can see down at the bottom, it says no difficulty because there's like no volume, 0 to 10 searches a month. And that's in the entire US. My tool, like I have it set to US. You can use it for different countries too if you want, but you can see it would be better if we were to use personal trainer. And you can, also like on the front of your website, like on your homepage, put, I'm a strength and conditioning coach, but in the SEO settings, we would want to use personal trainer. So going back to where I found these, there are lots of tools. I use Ahrefs, Ahrefs. Moz, M-O-Z is another tool. Keyword Surfer. There are literally like 15, 20 plus tools. If you just type in Google, I'm going to type it into the chat, Ahrefs. If you just type in Google keyword research tool, there are tons. Most of them you have to pay for, but it is a monthly fee. So you could literally just pay for 1 month and then cancel. So I know that kind of sounds bad, but for you, if you're doing this yourself, there's no need for you to pay for this tool like on an ongoing basis. If you just do the research for your site and see like, okay, so I need to do personal trainer Orlando, not fitness trainer. Cool. Like figure out what you need to do. And then, but your goal is to have low competition, or domain difficulty is those are the same thing, with high volume. Because if only 30 people are searching, like we're not reaching as many people. So now, once you find your keywords, so you've discovered like Orlando personal trainer is what I need to use, You want to use it in your page titles and descriptions. This is in the SEO settings. So Squarespace, you'll see like there's a place called SEO settings. WordPress, you'll use a plugin. There's several plugins like All-in-One SEO, Yoast, Rank Math. They're all free. And it just gives you a place to put those in the SEO settings. So you don't need to put this like in your page title, like that shows up in the navigation menu. This is like the back end. So don't feel like your navigation menu is going to be super cluttered with like super long like keywords. It's on the back end. On the pages themselves, so you want to also use those keywords, not in a spammy way, but like, hey, I'm an Orlando personal trainer who helps women lose weight and get fit, whatever. Like you want to use those on the page because Google is going to like make sure that you actually are a personal trainer. So you want to make sure you're actually using those keywords on your page. It doesn't have to be on every single page, but just make sure it's somewhere on a few pages. And then your image alt text. So this is getting super techy, but on any website platform, when you upload an image, like in Squarespace, you'll see in the upload box, it'll say like image alt text or image description. Same with WordPress. When you upload, you'll see image alt text, image description. You just want to put your keywords there. It's a little bit of a mix of accessibility and SEO. So you don't want to just like spam it with keywords, but you want to, say like Orlando personal trainer working at her desk or something like that. And we'll talk about the accessibility piece in a second, but that's another way you can use that image alt text or put your keywords in that image alt text. As I mentioned earlier, your best SEO strategy is going to be blogging. So if SEO showing up in Google search for your keywords, for your niche is important to you, I highly, highly, highly recommend blogging because Google, if you have a 4-page website, you're not giving Google very much data. Data is important because Google wants to give users a good experience. So if they're like, oh, so when people are searching for personal trainers in Orlando, like what's the best resource? Which site is giving people the right information that they're actually looking for? If you only have 4 pages and Bob has like 4 pages and 100 blog posts that all talk about like personal training and fitness and nutrition and health, they're going to be like, Bob has more information. Bob is going to give people more resources, more information, a better experience likely. They're going to show Bob's website instead of yours, or higher than yours, I should say. So you want to show Google that you are an authority on this topic about fitness, about nutrition, health, whatever it is. So answer common questions. You don't have to blog 5 times a week. You can blog, I'd say 2 to 3 times a month, and post really high quality, valuable posts to answer common questions. Stay on topic. This is not the time to start blogging about your vacation and your weekend plans and a craft you did with your kids. You want to answer questions in the realm of what you teach, of your services, of your niche. Again, you can use those SEO tools that we talked about, and you can even do keyword research for your niche. So if you're like, okay, so I want to like look and see, is anybody looking for answers or for information on stretching, on health quizzes, on health, like you can just type in those keywords and see how much search is happening for this topic that I want to blog on. So you can also do keyword research for blogging. Now, not all blog posts are equal. So make sure your keywords in your blog post title. Use subheadings within the blog post. Kind of like if you think about our textbooks in college, it was like, here's a chapter on whatever. And then like it was broken up. It wasn't just one mass block of text for 14 pages, they broke it up. So that's what you want to do. Make sure your blog posts are at least 700 words. The longer, the better. And then link to your own content and other websites. And what I mean is, if you have a blog post about good stretches for lower back pain, and you have another post about good stretches for hip pain, I don't know, then you could say, hey, if you're also having hip pain, I have some more stretches over here. And then vice versa. In the hip pain, you can be like, hey, if you're also having lower back pain, I have some other stretches over here. Link. And then other websites, you can say like, oh, if you want to get in, like if you're having lower back pain and these stretches don't help, maybe you need to try acupuncture. And then you have a blog post, or not you find a blog post by Rachel that talks about acupuncture. You can link to Rachel's post or something like that. If you're like, I know I've had clients who've done acupuncture with someone else. I don't do it, but I know some people have success with it. You can link to that. So that's something you can do. But this is how you want to optimize your blog posts. Do you ask before you link? No. Like, there's no need to, you're just hyperlinking. You're not copying and pasting Rachel's blog post. You are just linking to her website. That's good for her SEO as well. So you don't need to ask before you do that. Now, accessibility, like I said, I wanted to talk quickly about that. Do not go to Canva and make a graphic that says like personal trainer in Orlando and then upload that to your website. That is only okay for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Do not put text in an image and then put that on your website. That is not good for SEO. You only put text on your website on your actual website. Do not put in an image. Make sure you review your site on mobile devices. So like I mentioned early on, making sure your designer makes it mobile friendly. You want to make sure that everything is looking okay on mobile. So nothing's going off screen, or it's not like super tiny text or anything funky is happening. So make sure you do that. If you are doing YouTube or podcasts and you're putting that on your website, which you should, it's good for SEO, make sure you offer transcripts, because just embedding a video or like a podcast player, people who cannot see or cannot hear cannot access that content. So putting a transcript is really good, one, for accessibility, but also, again, for SEO. The alt text on images, like I mentioned a second ago, it's a mix of being good for SEO, but also accessibility. Because if somebody's internet's being slow, sometimes images don't load, or if something's wrong on your website, like something plugins being weird or whatever, and your image is just kind of like not appearing and it has that like blank box with a little like broken icon, that alt text can appear. Also screen readers, people who are visually impaired can use a screen reader and see that alt text, which is why you want to kind of have a mix of not just like Orlando personal trainer, but like Orlando personal trainer, like working at our desk, if it's a picture of you. And then links, make sure they're easy to find and click. Nowadays, most people, like, that's not usually a problem, but just making it more obvious that it's a link. Because sometimes it just says like, oh, click here, but it's not underlined, it's not a different color. Like, so make it obvious that things are links. Again, most of the time nowadays, that's usually not an issue. Most websites kind of have some kind of styling or formatting, or templates have that styling or formatting, but just something to be aware of. So I know I covered a lot, today, so you probably have questions. You can find me at jesscreatives.com, or like I said, I'm on social media at jesscreatives. I'm on pretty much every social media platform at jesscreatives, but there you go. I know we had some questions, so I'm sure we have plenty of Q&A to cover.
Yeah. Jess, thank you so much. That was a really great presentation. I feel like you're a great educator.
I
Hopefully
grew
the
up with a
audience
family
feels
of
the way.
teachers, so I think I'm channeling like my inner family teachers whenever I present.
I loved your style. I feel like building a website can be such a complicated topic and such an important topic. And I feel like you really spoke with clarity on some of the most important considerations, and really, hopefully, for folks out there, simplified
Yes,
some of
I hope
these
so.
meatier
Yeah.
topics. So just want to thank you for that. And yes, we do have some questions. If you have any questions that you haven't dropped in the chat yet, please feel free to do so now. But I want to address a question that I saw from Cheryl, and a few other people chimed in as well, saying they're in a similar boat. Where Cheryl, in her case, she's a yoga instructor. She has her website set up for her yoga classes, her workshop, that business. And now she's expanding and adding new services, including nutritional coaching. So in her case, or a similar case where someone is expanding their services or working in several different fields, do you suggest offering separate websites for each of these services? Is it okay to combine these into the same website? And how does that affect SEO?
So it's there's not an absolute answer. So one, I will say yoga and nutrition are kind of in the same realm. Like it's not like you're like yoga and interior design. So if it was like that far apart, I would be like, absolutely make them separate. With yoga and nutrition, since they are similar, it's not that it's bad for SEO, but I will say you're not going to be able to, like, on your homepage, like for your SEO settings for your homepage, you're not really going to be able to be like yoga and nutrition, because like people aren't likely searching yoga and nutrition. So most of your website is going to revolve around like one or the other, if that makes sense. So you would probably stick to, I'm just assuming here, like yoga being the main keyword for your website. Now, for your nutrition, like services page, you could obviously optimize and say like nutrition classes or counseling or like whatever you want to say. Like that can absolutely, that page itself, but the site as a whole, like your homepage again is the SEO setting is going to be like yoga classes in Orlando, and like your about page is going to be like about Cheryl, yoga instructor in Orlando. So like most of it's going to be yoga centric. So if you are wanting to have your services like 50-50, nutrition's not going to be heavily optimized because you're only going to have like one page. So if you're like, ooh, I really want to like even them out, then I might recommend having a separate website, if that makes sense. It's kind of a tricky
Excellent.
answer.
Yeah, no, appreciate that insight, and hopefully that makes sense for the folks out there who are in that boat and have that question. We got a lot of other questions. I think SEO, like
Mm-hmm.
very hot topic, and I think it can be very
Yes.
confusing and often really misunderstood area.
Mm-hmm.
And now you talked a lot about SEO for website,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your expertise. We did get a question about, I think, just SEO in general. So Christine asked about like Yelp specifically, but I'm just curious about SEO across the board, like for our social media
Mm-hmm.
or Yelp profiles. Um, and this might be out of your scope, but do you think, like, what are your thoughts on using like that SEO, that keyword, like Orlando personal trainer across the board and all these platforms where you are promoting your services?
So I'm not in the realm of Yelp. I don't use Yelp or know anything about it, but I would say yes. If you do the keyword research, you find Orlando personal trainer is good search, then yeah, I would say use that on Yelp or LinkedIn, Instagram, like whatever. That's going to be beneficial, especially Yelp since its website, like Yelp is its own website, and that does show up in search, where it's like Instagram does, but not a lot show up in like Google search. So yeah, definitely if you find like your keywords, use it everywhere.
Awesome. Um, And then we got another
Mm-hmm.
question, again about SEO. And this is specifically in regards to showing up in Google.
Mm-hmm.
So ranking within search results.
Mm-hmm.
This question is about being competitive with Google Ads.
Mm.
So we'll often see Google Ads at the top or the bottom of our search results.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any thoughts on how we can be competitive and relevant within those
Yeah.
results?
So I will say, I think a lot of people scroll past the Google ads because they're like, oh, whatever, that's just ads. So that's where, if you want to be more competitive, that's where the blogging can be really beneficial. Because, I mean, yes, if people are searching like Orlando personal trainer, whatever, like that's not necessarily a blog post, but you can definitely still be competitive for search even if people are doing Google ads. But if you, like, I always say for people who are location centric, like if you only serve people in Orlando, like you don't do virtual stuff, it can be really beneficial to do blog posts like 10 best personal trainers in Orlando. And I know that might feel like really like weird. It's like, why am I promoting other personal trainers in my area? It can be really, really good for SEO, like really good. So anything you can do in your area, like 10 best workout classes, if you don't want to like do specific like people, but if you want to do like workout classes or like fitness events or like races, like, races to compete in or something like that, that can still get you traffic to your website and people be like, oh, I didn't know Ashley was a personal, like I'm looking for a personal trainer or something like that. So um, I say yes, like the Google ads are always going to be there, but that doesn't mean that like we can't still optimize and show up in search. So
That's such a good tip.
yeah.
I really love that. I think that all of us have probably asked a similar question like
Oh
that,
yeah.
whether researching our certification organization for our health
Yeah.
coaching certificate or, similar
Mm-hmm.
questions for our health and nutrition passions.
Yeah.
So that is a great tip for everyone out there who will start blogging after hearing this webinar or
Please
is
do.
currently blogging. Let's see, we've got a couple more minutes. We have a few more questions. One of them is from Casey, and this is a little bit more oriented on design.
Mm-hmm.
So Casey's question is on Canva, which is really popular right now for creating a lot of
Yes, I love
graphics and
Canva.
visuals.
I love
Awesome. So yeah, just
it.
wanted to hear your thoughts on that for like say assets for our website, like a
Mm-hmm.
logo, or any other graphical element that we're sticking on our
Yeah.
website.
So Canva is great for making logos. I think that's totally an option if you want to go that route. Just make sure that you do save it. Like usually as a PNG is best. That's one of the download options. JPEG is fine too, because I'm not sure if PNG transparent is like a Canva Pro thing. So JPEG is also fine. So yeah, Canva is totally fine for logos. If you want to use it for other elements, I here's like one of my favorite like design hacks. If you want like a colored background and maybe you want to, maybe not just like a solid picture, but you want it like some texture or some kind of something, use the presentation template on Canva. And then you can like what this background right here on the slide, this Q&A slide down here, like you could do that in Canva. For all I know, maybe you did, but you can do like a solid color and then in the elements search like pattern, shapes, geometric, like whatever, or like dumbbells and like add some graphical elements. Download this as a JPEG and then upload this as like a background in like Squarespace, WordPress, whatever. Now, it's not, I don't mean like the entire background of your entire website. I mean like a section of your website, like a little, like maybe it's like the FAQ section or it's behind like the pricing or whatever. That's a nice way to like add some more color and visual interest to your website. So here you go. Yeah.
Awesome. Another great tip. You're full of them. So we are just about at time. I want to be respectful mindful of everybody's time. Jess, I really appreciate you being
Yeah.
here. We still have lots of questions in the chat, but you all make sure you check out Jess's website, follow her on Instagram. She has a lot of really helpful resources. I know I've been stalking you for quite some time and gaining a lot of value. So really appreciate you making the time to talk with us
Yeah.
today about accessibility and SEO and blogging and all that good stuff. I hope this all benefited you all listening to this webinar. And again, feel free to connect with and follow Jess, and appreciate you
Yeah.
all.
And if I didn't
Thanks again,
answer, if we
Jess.
didn't get to your question, feel free to DM me on Instagram and I can answer your question there.
Lovely. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Ta-ta. Bye.